Day 60. Nancy Guthrie is still missing. The FBI just released a crystal clear image of her suspected kidnapper wearing an Ozark Trail backpack, yet they absolutely refuse to release his psychological profile. This refusal changes the entire trajectory of this ongoing search. Law enforcement agencies typically use public fear to their advantage. They publish behavioral traits to generate vital leads. They warn communities about specific patterns of violence. They want you to recognize the man standing behind you in the grocery store checkout line. In this specific investigation, the Bureau is choosing absolute silence. They are choosing to keep the psychological makeup of this suspect locked entirely away from the public eye. This is not standard procedure for a high-profile federal kidnapping case. This is a heavily calculated tactical maneuver. The authorities are protecting a highly sensitive piece of intelligence. The psychological profile likely contains something so specific and so chilling that releasing it would compromise the entire federal operation. It implies the suspect possesses a dangerous level of inside knowledge. He knows the Guthrie family intimately. The FBI knows exactly how dangerous this individual is. They are holding their cards very close to their chest. They are waiting patiently for him to make a single fatal mistake. They know that revealing his profile might force him deeper underground. It might trigger a violent and unpredictable reaction. The silence from the federal level is deafening and deliberate. This is a game of psychological warfare. The FBI is communicating with the kidnapper through their public silence. They are telling him they know far more than they are showing on television. Meanwhile, the clock continues to run without mercy. Nancy is 84 years old. She relies heavily on daily medication to simply survive. She requires a specialized pacemaker to keep her heart beating rhythmically. Every single hour that passes without her medication is a critical threat to her life. Her daughter, Savannah Guthrie, is demanding answers on national television broadcasts. The public pressure on the local authorities is immense and growing daily. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos assigned his elite homicide unit to this case from day one. That administrative decision alone speaks volumes about their grim internal expectations. The sand in the hourglass is falling dangerously fast. The digital footprint of that January night holds the only real answers. We are tracking every piece of evidence hidden deep within this investigation. If you want to be the first to know when this classified profile finally leaks, hit the subscribe button. For Tracking Evil with John, we need to go back and examine the exact timeline of her disappearance. The night begins normally at 9:48. Tommaso Cioni drops his mother-in-law off at her Pima County residence. He waits in his vehicle. He watches the heavy garage door close securely at exactly 9:50. That is the last confirmed visual sighting of Nancy Guthrie. The house goes completely quiet. The surrounding street is dark and still. Then the digital timeline officially takes over the narrative. At 1:47 in the morning, the exterior doorbell camera is abruptly disabled. The live video feed goes entirely black. The perimeter of the home is successfully breached. 25 minutes pass in complete and utter silence. At 2:12, an internal security camera activates. This specific system records data locally. It does not rely on a vulnerable cloud storage network. The hidden lens captures a man walking through the dark house. He is roughly 5 foot 10 inches tall. He wears a dark mask to conceal his identity. He carries that specific Ozark Trail backpack. He moves with deliberate and chilling purpose. 16 minutes later, the most terrifying digital timestamp of the entire night is officially recorded. At 2:28, the proprietary application connected to the pacemaker inside Nancy loses its Bluetooth connection. The life-saving signal drops completely off the digital radar. Bluetooth technology requires the paired device to remain within a very short physical distance. The sudden disconnection means the pacemaker is no longer near the cellular phone, or the receiver is completely and violently destroyed. Medical data is entirely objective. It does not lie. It does not misremember. It simply stops transmitting. That final transmission at 2:28 is the digital equivalent of a flatline for investigators. Nancy is officially gone into the cold night. Law enforcement arrives hours later to find a single patch of blood on the front porch. The federal agents rope off the entire property. The timeline is terrifyingly precise and cold. Cioni leaves the property at 9:50. The exterior camera dies at 1:47. The heart monitor vanishes at 2:28. There is a precise 41-minute gap between the moment the exterior camera is blinded and the moment her medical device goes completely dark. Those 41 minutes hold the entirety of the crime. That is the exact window where a violent and rapid extraction takes place. The digital silence is deafening. Let us examine the specific technology keeping the victim alive. The pacemaker relies on a continuous local connection. It pings the receiver constantly to maintain a vital safety net. It sends heart rhythm data every single second of the day. Bluetooth technology operates on a very strict physical boundary. The maximum effective range is roughly 30 feet in a standard home. Move beyond that invisible barrier and the signal dies instantly. At 2:28, the signal terminates completely. This is a terrifying piece of telemetry data for the federal agents. It means the physical distance between the medical device and the base station exceeded that critical limit. The suspect physically moved her out of that 30-foot radius, or he located the receiving device and destroyed it deliberately in the dark. Both scenarios require time and extreme precision. We must look at the timeline again from a forensic perspective. 41 minutes is an absolute eternity during a home invasion. Most residential burglaries are over in less than 8 minutes flat. Thieves want to grab high-value items and vanish quickly into the night. They do not linger in a quiet hallway. They do not spend half an hour inside an occupied dwelling. This intruder is operating on a completely different psychological wavelength. He is remarkably comfortable inside the dark house. He navigates the floor plan without triggering additional alarms. He manages to isolate a vulnerable woman in the dead of night. He does all of this while remaining completely undetected by the neighborhood. The isolation of the target is incredibly methodical. He bypasses the front door entirely to disable the cloud camera. He understands the vulnerabilities of a smart home ecosystem. He exploits the blind spots of modern residential security networks. The 41 minutes represent a highly calculated extraction operation. He uses the darkness to his absolute advantage. The local authorities know this is not a random smash and grab. The timeline dictates a targeted and meticulously planned event. The technology tells a story of systematic dismantling. First, the external eyes are blinded by a calculated move. Then the internal medical monitor is severed completely. He is stripping away her electronic safety net piece by piece. The silence of the house during this period is the most disturbing element. There are no neighbors reporting screams or calls for help. There are no sounds of breaking glass or forced entry. The physical environment remains eerily undisturbed while a human life is taken. We have to consider the sheer physical logistics of this specific act. Moving an elderly person with limited mobility requires significant physical effort. It usually involves some level of noise or accidental resistance, yet the digital record shows a remarkably smooth and silent process. The technology confirms she was there at 2:27. By 2:28, she is a ghost in the machine. The gap is a black hole of forensic evidence. It swallows the entire crime, leaving only digital echoes behind. Law enforcement must reconstruct those missing minutes, relying solely on what is absent. The absence of data becomes the primary focus of the investigation. The missing heartbeat signal is the only witness to the actual abduction. The suspect operates entirely within this negative space. He creates a perimeter of silence around his terrifying actions. He controls the environment with terrifying efficiency. The 41 minutes are a masterclass in predatory stealth. The local homicide unit looks at this time frame and sees a professional at work. They see an individual who rehearsed this exact scenario multiple times. He knew exactly how long he had before the next security sweep. He knew exactly where the camera blind spots were located. The extraction is executed with military precision. The clock ticks forward while the digital evidence stops dead. The investigation hinges on decoding this specific window of time. The authorities must find a single mistake within those 41 minutes. They must locate the flaw in his seemingly perfect execution. The technology failed to protect her, but it succeeded in recording the exact moment she was taken. That timestamp is the anchor of the entire federal investigation. It is the definitive starting point of the physical hunt. The digital trail ends abruptly at 2:28. The physical trail begins in the exact same fraction of a second. The transition from digital to physical evidence is jarring for the investigative team. The police cross the threshold of the home, expecting a chaotic scene. They expect overturned furniture and signs of a desperate struggle. They are walking into a crime scene defined entirely by what is missing. The reality of the physical space will contradict every single assumption they have. Investigators stand on the front porch staring at a physical impossibility. A confirmed patch of blood stains the exterior concrete. It is a stark indicator of violence and immediate injury. The federal agents document the crimson evidence under harsh halogen lights. It points to a brutal physical confrontation right at the threshold. They prepare themselves for a gruesome interior scene. They open the front door expecting total devastation. According to leaked reports from an insider, the interior is absolutely immaculate. There is no shattered glass on the hardwood floor. There are no overturned chairs in the living room. The medical supplies are undisturbed on the kitchen counter. The physical space is perfectly preserved in a state of quiet domesticity. This is the terrifying paradox of the current investigation. You cannot violently abduct an elderly woman without leaving a massive trace. A physical struggle leaves forensic markers everywhere in a confined space. Bodies collide with furniture and drywall. Fibers tear and skin sheds during a fight for survival. The pristine condition of the house defies all logic of a violent kidnapping. The blood outside contradicts the terrifying silence inside. How does an armed intruder extract a target without causing a single disruption? He manages to move her through the house like a phantom. He leaves no scuff marks on the polished floorboards. He leaves no fingerprints on the wooden doorframes. The immaculate nature of the scene suggests terrifying compliance or total immediate incapacitation. Did he use a chemical agent to silence her instantly? Did he utilize a specialized weapon to ensure zero physical resistance? The lack of chaos is far more disturbing than a destroyed room. It implies total and absolute physical control over the victim. He orchestrates a rapid extraction with terrifying surgical precision. The lack of evidence points to a highly specialized skill set. He is not a desperate amateur looking for quick cash. He is an apex predator operating in a familiar hunting ground. The local detectives are paralyzed by the perfection of the crime scene. They are staring at a void where physical evidence should be. The pristine environment mocks their standard investigative efforts. The clean surfaces offer no DNA and no trace material. The suspect wipes his presence from the physical world as easily as he cuts the camera feed. He operates in the spaces between the residential security systems. He exploits the silence of the night to mask his terrifying efficiency. This is a level of sophistication rarely seen in local domestic cases. The federal profilers are looking at this clean house and seeing a highly organized individual. They see a suspect who plans for every single physical contingency. He accounts for her limited mobility and her complex medical needs. He factors in the standard response time of the local police department. He controls the entire narrative from the moment he steps onto the property. The immaculate extraction is his horrifying physical signature. It is a terrifying display of absolute dominance over his target. The blood on the porch is the only mistake he seemingly makes. It is the only crack in his perfect criminal facade. The authorities are desperately trying to exploit that single drop of biological evidence. They are running rapid forensic tests to determine the exact nature of the injury. Was it a blunt force trauma or a sharp laceration? The pristine interior forces the investigation to focus entirely on that exterior stain. The massive contrast between the violent porch and the peaceful living room is the central mystery. The public is begging for answers while the FBI maintains their strict silence. The tension is breaking the local community apart day by day. Everyone is looking over their shoulder, wondering who possesses this kind of capability. If you want to dive deeper into these impossible crime scenes, make sure you subscribe to Tracking Evil with John right now. We analyze every single piece of forensic data to find the hidden truth. The immaculate scene tells us he is a highly trained professional. He executes the plan flawlessly and vanishes completely into the darkness. But even strict professionals leave a trace behind in the real world. He is a master of rapid extraction and digital evasion. He leaves the house looking untouched while taking a human life. The investigation must pivot to find the invisible threads he left behind. He is a ghost, but he is tethered to reality by a single piece of evidence. He left something behind that changes the entire direction of the hunt. Investigators are now scrutinizing a critical piece of evidence that the intruder likely intended to remain hidden. While the exterior cloud camera was blinded at 1:47, The suspect reportedly missed a secondary internal recording device. This specific camera operates on a local loop and does not broadcast a signal that a sophisticated hacker could easily intercept. The grainier footage from 212 captures a chilling sequence of movements. The man does not fumble for a light switch. He does not use a flashlight to navigate the unfamiliar hallway. He moves through the darkened residence with the fluid confidence of someone who has walked these floors 100 times before. He avoids the creaking floorboards near the guest suite. He passes the china cabinet without a single glance. This level of spatial awareness strongly suggests he possesses detailed architectural knowledge of the Guthrie home. He is not searching for the target. He's intercepting her at a precise coordinate. This footage reveals he carries a specialized kit inside that Ozark Trail backpack. He reaches for specific tools with practiced muscle memory. The federal agents are frame-stepping through this low-light video to identify any unique physical markers. They are looking at the way he shifts his weight. They are analyzing the specific gait of his stride. ACUD? CV? FBI noted a subtle hitch in his right step that suggests a past injury or a very specific tactical training background. This is a person who understands how to minimize his physical profile while moving under duress. He is a predator who has rehearsed this specific extraction in a similar environment. The investigation is now pivoting to anyone who has had recent authorized access to the property. They are looking at contractors and delivery personnel who may have spent time inside the layout. They are checking for anyone with a background in high-end security or rapid response tactics. The precision of his movement is the most incriminating piece of data they possess. It is a digital fingerprint of his past experiences. He is a ghost who accidentally left a trail of behavioral evidence. The local detectives are cross-referencing this footage with the blood found on the porch. The contrast between his surgical interior movement and the exterior violence is a major forensic hurdle. It suggests a sudden and unexpected complication occurred during the final exit. Perhaps Nancy Guthrie resisted with a strength he did not anticipate. Or perhaps a third party interrupted the clean extraction. The FBI is cataloging every single item that appears out of place according to the initial police sweep. A single chair in the dining room was allegedly rotated 4 degrees from its usual position. A decorative rug in the foyer was shifted just enough to expose a sliver of the hardwood floor beneath. These are the micro traces of a struggle that the suspect tried to erase before leaving. He is a perfectionist who ran out of time. He had to choose between a perfect scene and a clean escape. He chose the escape. The authorities are betting everything on these tiny physical discrepancies. They are looking for the one thing he forgot to put back in its place. Every centimeter of that house is being scanned with forensic lasers. They are rebuilding the crime in a virtual space to see what is missing. The investigation is a race against a cooling trail. The more time passes, the more the physical evidence degrades. But the digital recording of his confidence remains. If you want to see the leaked frame-by-frame analysis of this footage, join our community at Tracking Evil with John and subscribe today. We are breaking down the secrets. The FBI is too afraid to show you on the news. The pressure on the Guthrie family is reaching a breaking point as the investigation enters its second month. Savannah Guthrie continues to use her media platform to keep her mother's name in the headlines every morning, but behind the scenes, the legal complications are mounting. A ransom note demanding an undisclosed amount in Bitcoin reportedly arrived shortly after the disappearance. This note allegedly contained a specific description of the clothing Nancy was wearing that night. This confirms the kidnapper had physical contact with her after the abduction took place. But federal profilers are deeply skeptical of this financial motive. They note that a Bitcoin ransom is a classic trope used to distract from a more personal objective. It feels like a scripted element from a crime drama rather than a genuine demand. The language used in the note is reportedly cold and clinical. It lacks the emotional desperation usually seen in amateur kidnapping attempts. It reads more like a business contract than a plea for money. This adds another layer of complexity to an already tangled case. The police are also dealing with the public scrutiny of Tommaso Cioni. He is the last person to see Nancy alive at 9:48. There is no evidence suggesting he is involved in any criminal capacity. He has been fully cooperative with every federal request. Yet, the armchair detectives online are obsessed with the 2-minute window between his departure and the garage door closing. They are analyzing his vehicle's GPS data with a magnifying glass. This digital harassment is hindering the actual investigation by flooding the tip lines with useless speculation. The sheriff's department is forced to waste manpower clearing these baseless theories. Meanwhile, the real suspect remains at large with a 41-minute head start. The clock is the primary enemy of the Pima County Homicide Unit. They are watching the calendar flip while the leads grow thin. The initial urgency of the search is being replaced by a grim and steady determination. The forensic team is still waiting for the full DNA results from the porch blood. They are hoping for a secondary profile that does not belong to the victim. This could be the break they need to identify the man in the Ozark Trail backpack, but the suspect is careful. He likely wore gloves and full body coverage to prevent shedding any biological material. He is a phantom who understands the power of forensic science. He is playing a game of cat and mouse with the best investigators in the country. The complications are not just physical, they are psychological. The FBI is struggling to reconcile the immaculate house with the violent porch. These two scenes do not belong to the same crime. One is a professional extraction. The other is a messy assault. This suggests the suspect may have experienced a psychological break during the event. His plan was perfect until it met the reality of a human being. The tension in the briefing room is palpable as the agents realize they are hunting a highly intelligent but potentially unstable individual. He is a man of two halves. One half is a tactical expert. The other half is a kidnapper who leaves blood on the doorstep. The investigation is now focused on finding where these two personalities intersect. They are looking for a suspect with a history of high-stakes precision and sudden bursts of aggression. They are narrowing the field to a very specific type of individual. The countdown to the next update is agonizing for the Guthrie family. They are living in a state of permanent mourning without a body to bury. The silence of the FBI is a heavy weight on their shoulders. The agents are holding back a piece of information that could break this case wide open. They are waiting for the perfect moment to reveal the truth. The entire investigation is leaning toward a single explosive revelation. The FBI is now hiding a terrifying psychological profile that points directly to a predator with intimate access. This is the chilling reason for their absolute silence. Federal profilers have reportedly identified a behavioral signature that suggests this was never a random act. The suspect did not just know the layout of the house, he knew the internal rhythms of the Guthrie family. He knew the exact 2-minute window after Tomasocioni drove away, but before the internal sensors fully armed for the night, he knew that Nancy Guthrie would be at her most vulnerable in those 60 seconds of transition. This is the profile of an insider or a highly sophisticated stalker who has spent weeks monitoring the residents from the digital shadows. The FBI is refusing to release this analysis because it contains details that only the kidnapper and a very small circle of people would recognize. Releasing it would immediately alert the suspect that they are closing in on his specific identity. The profile describes a man who likely has a background in private security or high-level logistics. He is someone who views human beings as assets to be moved rather than people to be harmed. This explains the immaculate extraction inside the home. He treated Nancy like a high-value package in a controlled environment. But the blood on the porch reveals his one psychological fracture. The profile suggests he is prone to sudden reactive aggression when a variable he cannot control interferes with his perfect plan. Nancy Guthrie likely fought back with a ferocity he did not calculate. In that moment of friction, his professional mask slipped and the predator emerged. This duality is why the FBI is terrified. They are hunting a man who can blend into a corporate boardroom or a high-end security detail by day, but becomes a methodical kidnapper by night. They believe he is someone the Guthrie family might even recognize. If the Bureau goes public with this specific behavioral sketch, the suspect might panic and eliminate the only remaining witness. They are playing a high-stakes game of psychological chicken to keep Nancy alive. The profile is a roadmap to a monster who lives among the elite. The FBI is holding this map because they are currently tailing individuals who fit every single chilling criteria. They are waiting for him to look in the rearview mirror and see them coming. The public is being kept in the dark to keep the suspect in a state of false security. This is the most dangerous phase of any ongoing kidnapping investigation. The suspect believes he committed the perfect crime because he hasn't seen his name on the news. But the FBI has his psychological fingerprint and they are tracing it back to a front door. If you want to see the specific evidence that links this profile to the Ozark Trail backpack, join our investigation at Tracking Evil with John by subscribing now. We are exposing the facts the authorities are trying to bury. The transition from a professional extraction to a violent assault is the key to his undoing. The FBI is banking on his arrogance being his ultimate downfall. He thinks he is the smartest person in the room. But the profilers have already climbed inside his head and they are waiting for him to move. The investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie currently stands at a haunting crossroads. There is no resolution in sight and no body has been recovered from the Arizona desert. The Pima County Sheriff's Department remains in a state of high alert as they process the final batch of forensic data from the porch. The blood has been confirmed as belonging to Nancy, but a second-minute trace of DNA is currently being run through the federal database. This represents the last best hope for a physical break in the case. Meanwhile, the FBI has moved their primary operations to a secure off-site location. They are no longer sharing daily briefings with local law enforcement. This suggests the investigation has moved into a sensitive federal phase that involves interstate or even international elements. The ransom note demanding Bitcoin has not been followed by any secondary communication. The digital wallet listed in the demand remains empty and unmonitored. This silence is the most agonizing part for Savannah Guthrie and her family. They are living in a house that has become a forensic tomb. Every room is a reminder of a woman who was there 1 minute and vanished the TIP Theo. The two unanswered questions continue. And who exactly possessed the tactical knowledge to bypass a modern security grid in under 2 minutes? The FBI knows the answer to the second question, but they are not sharing it with the world yet. The case is a chilling reminder of how quickly a life can be erased by a determined predator. The search for Nancy Guthrie is now a hunt for a phantom who leaves no shadow. The authorities are asking for any information regarding the Ozark Trail backpack or anyone who has recently shown an unusual interest in the Guthrie property. The community is on edge, waiting for a headline that might never come. The investigation is a cold and clinical battle of wills between the government and a man who thinks he is invisible. We are left with the image of a clean house and a blood-stained porch. It is a portrait of a crime that should have been impossible. The clock is still running, but the signal is gone. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie teaches us a chilling lesson about the paradox of modern home security. We often buy a false sense of safety through cloud-based cameras and smart home ecosystems. But as this case demonstrates, those systems are only as strong as their weakest digital link. The suspect knew exactly how to blind the exterior eyes of the Guthrie residents by exploiting the vulnerability of a cloud-based network. He understood that once the signal is cut, the recording stops instantly. This case proves that a secondary local loop recording system is the only reason we have a visual of the Ozark Trail backpack today. For anyone looking to secure their own perimeter, the forensic evidence here suggests that hybrid systems are no longer optional. You must have data that lives inside your walls, not just on a server 1,000 miles away. Furthermore, the circle of trust is the most significant psychological vulnerability any family possesses. Professional predators do not guess the layout of a home. They study it through authorized access or digital footprints we leave behind every day. This investigation highlights a disturbing trend in high-end kidnappings where the criminal uses our own convenience against us. Protecting your home now requires more than just a physical lock. It requires a rigorous audit of who has seen your floor plan and who understands your daily medical rhythms. The FBI is silent because they are analyzing these very same patterns of access. What this case teaches us about targeted predatory behavior is that the most dangerous threat is often the one that has already been invited inside. The central question of this investigation remains as haunting as the empty hallway in Pima County. Why did the FBI choose to release the image of a backpack but bury the psychological profile of the man wearing it? The answer lies in the 41 minutes of digital silence between 1:47 and 2:28 a.m. The Bureau is not looking for a random stranger. They are looking for a specific type of shadow that moves with the confidence of an owner. They are waiting for the moment. The suspect believes the trail has gone cold enough to resurface. The clock that started ticking when the pacemaker signal dropped has not stopped for the Guthrie family. We are committed to covering every development, every leak, and every forensic breakthrough in this ongoing search for the truth. If you want to ensure you are notified the second a new update is verified, make sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications for Tracking Evil with John. We do not stop until the silence is broken. The case of Nancy Guthrie is a reminder that even in an age of total surveillance, a person can still vanish if the predator knows where to cut the wire. But even the most professional ghost leaves a footprint eventually. We are waiting for that foot to fall. Until the FBI opens that classified file or Nancy Guthrie is brought home, keep your circle small, keep your cameras local, and stay vigilant.